All right, today we're going to dive into a really thought-provoking piece from Sunshine and Faith Evermore. It's called Recognizing the Abundant Blessings in Our Lives, and it's all about unpacking this framework for finding, a little bit of wonder in the day-to-day.
You know that feeling, right? When you're just on the hamster wheel, moving from one task to the next, checking off boxes. The whole week just becomes this big blur, and by the time Friday rolls around, you can barely remember what happened. You weren't really living it, you were just surviving.
So that's the big question, isn't it? How do we break free from that blur? Well, this piece we're looking at today offers a really specific mindset shift to move beyond just surviving the week and actually start experiencing it. So how do we escape this autopilot life? This source argues that the very first step is to build a completely different kind of awareness, a framework for recognizing what it calls blessings. And I get it, that word can sound a little fluffy, right? Maybe even cliche. But the source provides a real architecture for this idea that we're about to explore.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The source starts with this very specific definition, and you got to pay attention to those two words, unexpected and undeserved. This whole idea really pushes back against our hustle culture that screams at us that we have to earn every single thing we get.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you've got that hustle mindset. It's all about transactions. I did this, so I deserve that. But the blessing mindset completely flips the script. It's not about earning, it's about receiving. It's not a payment, it's a gift. And the source really anchors this whole idea in this verse from James. And that line, shifting shadows, wow, that's powerful stuff. It paints this picture of a chaotic world where everything is constantly changing. Our jobs, our relationships, our situations. But the source of all good things, that's constant, that's reliable. Okay, so to make this super practical, the source breaks blessings down into these 4 categories. And what I love here is how it puts something like a warm sunrise or a kid's laugh on the exact same level as these huge concepts like grace or health. It validates those small, quiet moments as truly significant gifts. All right, so we've got the categories down, but how do we actually get better at seeing them? Well, the source introduces this amazing concept it calls invisible miracles. And this isn't just about noticing the good stuff when it's obvious, it's about training our eyes to see the gifts we'd normally never even look for. Seriously, I love this phrase from the source, invisible miracles. The whole idea is that our brains are basically wired to spot the big, flashy, unusual stuff, usually the problems, right? But we totally miss the constant, quiet gifts that keep us going every single second. So what's with this number? 20,000. Well, that's about how many times you and I breathe every single day. It's this incredible, autonomous, totally unearned gift that keeps us alive, and we barely notice it until we get a cold and suddenly can't. And the source gives us so many other amazing examples, from your own heart beating without you telling it to the insane detail of a flower. Think about it. The world didn't have to be beautiful. It could have just been functional. So all this beauty, it's like a bonus gift, a sign of unbelievable care and creativity. And this right here brings us full circle. It's the solution to that autopilot problem we talked about at the very beginning. If you feel like you're stuck in that blur, the antidote is wonder. The simple act of noticing these small things yanks you right out of autopilot and into the present moment. Okay, so we get what we're looking for, but how do we actually do it? I mean, let's be real. Our brains are hardwired to focus on what's wrong. It's called a negativity bias. To fight that, the source gives us the super practical method it calls the gratitude toolkit. All right, let's break down this toolkit. It's got 4 really simple, actionable steps. First up, the journal. This forces you to actually look for the good stuff in your day. Second, reflecting on the past. This builds up this library of evidence in your mind that things have a way of working out. Third, shifting prayer from just a list of wants to an act of thanks. And that last one, sharing it, that's how you make gratitude contagious. Okay, now we're getting to the expert level stuff. I mean, it's easy enough to be grateful when things are good, right? A sunny day, a good cup of coffee. But what about when they're not so good? This is where the source challenges us to go deeper. Now, you've probably heard this verse before, but the source applies it in this really tough, really practical way. It's suggesting that maybe, just maybe, some of the absolute worst things we go through are actually blessings in disguise. It requires a pretty radical shift in how we see things. Let's take a real-world example. Getting rejected for a job. In that moment, all you feel is failure, scarcity, rejection. But what if? What if that was actually protection? What if that no saved you from a nightmare boss or a toxic culture? Suddenly, it's not a rejection, it's a rescue.
And you can apply this exact same logic to something as painful as a breakup. The initial view is just pure heartbreak and loss. But looking back, could that heartbreak have actually been prevention from even more pain down the road? Was it preparation for something better to come?
And that brings us to the last piece of this puzzle. And honestly, it might be the most important part of all. Because this whole practice isn't just about passively sitting back and counting good things. It's about shifting from just receiving to actively giving.
This is maybe my favorite metaphor from the entire piece. We're not meant to be buckets, just collecting and hoarding all the good things for ourselves. The idea is that these gifts aren't meant to just stop with you. They're meant to flow through you. You are meant to be a pipe.
And here's the best part. Being a pipe doesn't mean you have to do some huge, grand thing. The source points to these beautifully simple micro-actions. Sharing a smile, writing a quick, encouraging text. These are the little things that send out these massive ripples of kindness and abundance into the world around you.
So when you put this all together, this is the result. This is the big payoff. It's a complete mindset overhaul. You start to move from seeing lack everywhere to seeing abundance, from being driven by anxiety to resting in trust, and from being focused only on yourself to being focused on a much, much bigger picture.
And to really hammer this point home, the source brings up the story of the 10 lepers. I mean, think about it. 10 guys get this absolutely life-altering miracle, but they were so caught up in the gift itself that only one stopped, turned around, and actually said thank you. Only one acknowledged the giver.
So, I want to leave you with this one final question to think about. Using that blessings in disguise idea, I want you to look at whatever your biggest frustration is right now, and just ask yourself, could it be that it's not just a problem, but maybe, just maybe, it's a form of protection or even preparation for what's coming next?